Ron DeSantis' campaign tweeted a video attacking President Trump for his past support for LGBTQ Americans, touted DeSantis' own record of restricting their rights. I want you to look and listen to just part of that long video.
I cannot think of anything more horrifying.
It really has shut down drag.
Just produced some of the harshest, most draconian laws that literally threaten trans existence.
What's your reaction to that video?
You know, I'm going to choose my words carefully, partly because I'm appearing as secretary, so I can't talk about campaigns. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to leave aside the strangeness of trying to prove your manhood by putting up a video that splices images of you in between oiled up, shirtless bodybuilders, and just get to the bigger issue that is on my mind whenever I see this stuff in the policy space, which is, again, who are you trying to help? Who are you trying to make better off? And what public policy problems do you get up in the morning thinking about how to solve? You know, we're focused as an administration on how to get things done to make people better off. I spent my week traveling around the country to places that are benefiting from infrastructure funding. We were in Appalachia, in an eastern Kentucky community that's been wiped out by floods repeatedly, and we're bringing them highway funding that's going to help them not only improve the road, but also improve the dam and protect them from floods in the future. A few weeks ago, we were in North Dakota, where there's a railroad crossing that was a community headache for decades. And thanks to President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure funds, we finally have the resources to do something about it. And we're going to make that better and have it not be a problem holding back first responders. These are the kinds of problems that most of us got into government, politics, and public service in order to work on. And I just don't understand the mentality of somebody who gets up in the morning thinking that he's going to prove his worth by competing over who can make life hardest for a hard-hit community that is already so vulnerable in America.
First off, imagine being Ron DeSantis' campaign and looking at Donald Trump and thinking, that guy seems too liberal, we should probably attack him from the right. It's like Ron DeSantis decided that his path to the presidency is by occupying a lane somewhere between Kim Jong-un and Mussolini. But then DeSantis has made the calculation that that's the way to win a Republican primary, is to tack to the right on every issue there is. Florida had a 12-week abortion ban, which was already one of the most draconian, unpopular policies in the United States, and he opted instead for a 6-week abortion ban. He saw the GOP's attacks on the LGBT community throughout the country, and he opted to render the very acknowledgement of the existence of LGBT Americans in the classrooms illegal in Florida. As far as DeSantis is concerned, there is no issue that you can't go too far on the right on, because the extremism is the point. And let's be clear, the priorities between the two parties couldn't be more obvious. Pete made that clear in this very clip. The Democrats are looking to deliver tangible results. In just the last 2 years in office, when Democrats had the majority, they passed the American Rescue Plan, they passed the infrastructure package, upgrading our nation's infrastructure for the first time in our lifetimes, they passed the first gun safety bill in 30 years, they passed the CHIPS Act, which has led to a boom in American manufacturing unlike anything we've seen in modern American history. They passed the PACT Act, giving health care to sick veterans. They passed the Inflation Reduction Act, allocating record funding to combating climate change and allowing the government to negotiate lower drug prices and capping out-of-pocket healthcare costs for seniors. They brought the cost of insulin down to $35 a month. They created 13.1 million jobs with a 50-year low in unemployment, including a record low in unemployment for Black Americans. These are real-life, tangible accomplishments that impact every single American. And yet, on the flip side, you've got Republicans like Ron DeSantis running solely on culture wars. Ron DeSantis can't even manage to utter a sentence without shoving the word woke down everyone's throats more times than you can count.
Florida, we fought the woke all across the board, and as president, I will fight the woke in the corporations, I will fight the woke in the schools, I will fight the woke in the halls of Congress. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. We are going to leave woke ideology in the dustbin of history.
It's like Ron DeSantis saw Rudy Giuliani's losing 2008 campaign predicated solely on 9/11 and thought, I want that, only dumber. But let's be honest here, there is a reason that Republicans have to defer to these culture wars, because that's the only way they can win elections. Obviously, they're not in office to lower costs or build up the middle class or add jobs or upgrade our infrastructure. They're not there to cap out-of-pocket healthcare costs or expand rural broadband. They're not there to protect sick veterans. They're not there to combat the effects of climate change or lower the deficit, because they've done none of that, and the Democrats did all of it. Republicans are there to gin up arbitrary culture wars and rile up their base. That's it. They're there to collect a paycheck by getting their voters scared or enraged about the stupidest shit you could possibly wrap your head around. And so this is what they do. And the fact is, this is what they need to do, because if not for distracting you with this bullshit, then what else do they have? They stand for tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires, pretending climate change doesn't exist, coddling fossil fuel companies, facilitating the proliferation of guns across the country, and slashing earned benefits. You think that's going to win them elections outside of their conservative enclaves? You think that's going to do the trick in a swing state or a suburb? Of course not. They need these culture wars because they use them as a tool to distract their base. And so their grievance politics keeps everyone else unfocused on the fact that their actual policy is solely meant to keep the donor class fat and happy. And so in that way, Ron DeSantis isn't some move away from the establishment. He is a continuation of exactly the same politics that Republicans have been employing for decades. A politics that is predicated on treating their own base like idiots while pandering to the wealthy and well-connected. So look, I get that our politics are so connected with our identities that it makes it so difficult to even consider defecting from our team. And by the way, that's by design. But I hope that there are people out there who recognize what you're getting for your tax dollars when each party is in power. When Democrats had full control, they had the most legislatively productive Congress in living memory, all focused on growing the country from the bottom up. And guess what? It worked. Record jobs, record unemployment, record recovery, and the best economic performance of any other G7 country. Compare that to Republicans, who used their majority to give billionaires a tax cut and then spent the next decade banning abortions, banning books, banning interstate travel, banning the acknowledgement of the existence of gay people, and trying to cut earned benefits. Republicans who, for the last 3 decades, have left office with higher unemployment rates than Democrats. Republicans who, for the last 3 decades, have never once created more jobs than a Democratic administration. Republicans who, for the last 3 decades, have always left office with lower economic growth than Democrats. At some point, it has to become clear that when you let Republicans take power, you are paying to promote an agenda that the vast majority of Americans oppose. At the end of the day, this isn't about identity, it's about delivering an agenda that people want, and Republicans aren't interested in that in the slightest. So good on Pete for calling this out. It may not stop DeSantis from continuing to lunge to the far right, but it does shine a spotlight on what he's doing. Because while this might work for the base down in Florida, it just lets the rest of the country know how extreme and bigoted of an authoritarian he actually is. So he may be trying to quietly kowtow to the MAGA base, but everyone else can see exactly how much of a danger he poses to this country. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.